And we're back at it again with another live one for all of you Biconics YouTube fanatics out there. And welcome back to another edition of El Jefe y El Oso Loco, where El Jefe and my co-host, El Oso Loco, review this week's NXT for August 29th, 2023. Will, it is such a pleasure to be back once again reviewing NXT with you. How are you doing, my friend?
Good. I'm very good. I'm very excited about this one. Very excited about this one.
I am as well. The build to No Mercy has officially started. Now that we have put NXT Heatwave behind us, now we're building towards No Mercy at the end of September for NXT's next pay per view. And I gotta say, this was another fun one.
It was. This one was good. This one was just exciting to watch. I was very much like I really was into this one. I mean, all the matches were just pulled me in. So it was a lot more. There was a lot of more. A lot of more. There was a lot more drama going on, and all. It was great. It was. This is.
This is Yes, I'm excited because the matches we got was great. We have a whole entire tournament happening now, leading into No Mercy to see who for the Heritage Cup, which we'll talk about in a little bit. We got some amazing feats of athleticism across the board, and it seems, we'll talk about it at the end. But I'm like, after the main event tonight, we did get a little ending segment that wasn't the match, and I was like, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. So, without further ado, man, NXT started off with a banger. It started off crazy. So, last week, during Heatwave last week, we got told, the Creed brothers and the Dyad were going to have a steel cage match. And it was like, okay, cool. I was like, it'll probably be like towards the end of hour one, towards the middle. No, this is what started the show. So I was just like, oh, so it's gonna be that kind of night, NXT. Okay, I'm kind of here for it. So as NXT comes on air, we see the Schism with the Dyad already in the ring, kind of in the midst of their entrance with all the Schism members around the steel cage. And then we get the entrance of the Creed brothers, Brutus and Julius Creed. And before anything can really happen, Julius gets into the cage, and as Brutus tries to go in, nope, like literally, all the Schism members are like, yoink, and take him to the back. Take him to the back.
Yeah, they like carried him off. I was like, oh my god. And then Joe was it Gacy? Joe Gacy's all like, click, lock the door. I was like, dirty bastard. I was like, dirty. And I was there for it. I was like, yes, this is great. Oh my gosh. It's gonna be 2-on-1. This is gonna be great.
And man, this 2-on-1 was really, really great. So obviously, we all know that the Schism doesn't play fair, as they shouldn't, because they are a heel faction. They will do anything to win. But you know what? This 2-on-1 was really, really great. Um, I think before Brutus comes back, I think my favorite part of this 2-on-1 is when Julius has one of the Dyad like looking to do some sort of submission ankle lock. And then with his free hand, he takes the other one and does like a one-arm power bomb while still holding on. I was like, what is this?
Julius held his own. I'll give it to him up until right there towards the end, before the Brutus comes in. But I mean, he held his own. I was kind of impressed. I was very much like, you do it, buddy. There towards the end, they really started to pound on him, but they did. There was some great stuff happening in that 2-on-1 bit. I mean, there was a lot of like, I mean, he Julius was literally holding his own. It's like I was just like, oh no. When they did it, I was like, oh, Julius is about to get his ass beat. And I thought this was going to be part of the thing. It's like, oh, and then it's going to be a revenge story and all this, that, and the other. And but he held his own. I was very, very impressed with that. And you're right. Some of his movements that he did. I mean, some of the things he did was like you're all by yourself, and you like are taking these guys down. Yeah, and I was just like, wow, it was exciting to watch. I mean, I was, I literally, I was so excited that because originally I was like Mikey was with the idea like, oh, we're gonna get this cage match probably somewhere towards the middle, maybe, maybe a couple of matches in, then the big cage will happen, and like sort of like their intermission type thing, like between Act One and Act Two. And no, it was right out of the gate, and I was like, this is cool. And then of course Gacy double crossing, and I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I was on the edge of my seat because I was literally like, oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh. It's like, what's he gonna do? What's he gonna do? And then because they drug Brutus off like away, and I thought, oh no, he's gonna have to do this all on his own.
Yeah, and obviously Julius kind of starts with the upper hand. Like I said, that submission, one arm power bomb back into submitting the other person was so good. But eventually, the numbers game does start to backfire, and the Dyad do get, you know, the Dyad do get the advantage, and they start to beat on Julius. But then, I mean, I think, ironically, I would have loved to hear like the trumpet of like the cavalry like playing somewhere, because then all of a sudden the audience turns to the entrance ramp. I'm like, oh boy, what's happening? And at first we just see a couple of Schism members just lying on the floor. I'm like, what is happening? And then coming out the back, we just see big old Brutus over here carrying one of the Schism members and just like tosses him. And and to make it even better, he starts walking up to the cage, right?
Absolute favorite moment in this whole fight.
He just stares at Joe Gacy as Joe Gacy's like doing the neener, neener, neener. Like, I have the key right here. And like a good sketch comedy bit, like Brutus just looks at Joe Gacy, continues to walk up, grabs the door and shakes it like, yep, it's locked, and then just rips that sucker off its door hinges.
I was like, he ripped the door off. I was like, oh my God. And he didn't just rip the door off, he took it in the ring with him.
That's what I love to see. I'm like, use it as an improvised weapon.
Yes. I was so excited. I was like, oh, he is about to hit some bitches with a door. I was like, yes, this is what wrestling is supposed to be right here. Using anything you can, just whoop their butts. And man, he did not disappoint.
No, because he puts the so Brutus puts the door into the ring, and then the Dyad are just like, "Oh crap, we need to take him out." And they try to, but then Brutus is like, "Nah, bro." And so then they proceed to try to use the door against the Creed brothers, but then they power back, and then they take the door and like choke them out with the door on the mat. And then we just get continuous back and forth between the two. This finishing sequence is probably one of my favorites that I've seen in quite some time. So, first off, Julius picks up both members of the dyad onto his shoulders as Brutus goes up to the top rope and does a freaking cannonball into them. It's like this weird cannonball Tower of Doom spot. I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it was like, because you like, I saw him. He's like, oh, he picked him up. I was like, oh, he's going to do like a double body slam or something. And then you see Brutus going up, and I was like, what is happening? What is he going to do? And then he cannonballed their asses. I was like, oh, and I was like, I got all kinds of vocal. I was like, it was like amazing. It was so good. Oh my gosh. Oh, it was this to me. And I know we're still talking about it, but this match was like, it was my match, man. I was like, this right here. I, I want more of this. And not necessarily like cage fighting, but the, the energy of this fight, the was so like personal, you might say. It felt personal, and I love that, and I just love it because when you have personal at stake, the stakes are higher. and it felt that way, and I was so on the edge of my seat this whole fight because I was like, oh my gosh, who's gonna win, who's gonna win, please, gosh, no, gosh, oh gosh, because it was kind of like touch and go there for a little while because I was like, oh gosh, who's gonna win? I didn't know. uh as a spectator, I would have been like, I have no idea who's going to win this match. I know who I want to win this match, but I don't know if they're going to win this match because, oh my gosh, look what's happening in this ring right now.
I
Oh, it's
mean,
so good.
and and it was as soon as that cannonball hit, then the Creed brothers go immediately into their finisher where the dyad is laying on the floor, and as they both sit up, Julius and Brutus from opposite ends of the rings do a baseball slide, like forearm chop to the throat of some sort. That
Down they went.
it was like the hit sounded really bad, and then they pinned both members of the dyad separately to get the 3 count, and the winners and reinstated to NXT are the Creed brothers. So Diamond Mine is once again reunited on NXT as we see Ivy Nile after the replay of parts of the match in the ring with the Creeds celebrating. My gosh, what a way to open up NXT this week.
And then you had like, I what I loved is like Gacy's face was, because I was texting Mikey during this, and I was like, this guy needs his ass kicked so bad. He literally someone needs to just pound on him. Um, and then Ava was there, and I love I love when at the end of the match, and Ava was like, I'm out.
She was
Like,
not happy. She was pressed. She was upset with Joe and the dyad. She's like, you know what? I'm out of here. Y'all suck.
yeah. And I was like, bye, Felicia.
Oh,
She did.
yeah.
She
One
stormed.
thing I forgot to mention, what also made me laugh was this match is before Brutus ripped open the door, he was chasing Gacy around the ring.
It's right. Around the
And
ring.
while he was running around, he was just literally like pushing members of the schism out of the way. And just they were selling. They're like, ah.
Yeah, it was like ripping through tissue. It was just like
So
he was just like, ugh. And oh, it was great watching Jason go
literally,
through
if Oprah was narrating wrestling, it's like you're getting pushed through, and you're getting pushed through. Everybody's getting pushed through.
God, it was great. It was such a good match. It was such a good match. I absolutely love this match. I love what it started the night off with. I love the energy that it created. And the great thing about it is I feel like the energy just rolled along with it, after it. So it kept the momentum going, as we'll talk about as we get into the other fights. But this one was so good. I'm so glad they opened it with this one because this just got me ready to go. I mean, I was watching it, and as soon as he like locked the door and they drug Brutus off, I was like, oh god, this is gonna be good. And then Brutus ripped that door off. I was like, this is gonna be really good. And then it just got chaotic, and it was wonderful. And it had me pumped for the night. Truly, truly pumped.
It was such a good opener. And you know what? You perfectly kind of encapsulated how I was feeling the whole entire night because that energy that I felt throughout this match and that I was excited for, it literally carried through both the other matches and then even the segments we get because now storylines are developing and we're leading to different things. And what I appreciated, because we'll talk about this next, I love that each woman in the Fatal 4-Way that we were going to have in this main event, each of them got their own video package promo throughout the night.
Yes.
And that is one of the things I love. Each woman got their time and, got to say their piece. And we obviously start off with the first one, Roxanne Perez, because after the steel cage match, we start with Roxanne's video package, and then out the gate, I knew I was like, oh, this main event's gonna be something good, something special, because and this is what I've been wanting from Roxanne for quite some time. So in this video package, Roxanne goes, you know what? People will expect me to be nice, to be kind, to be understanding. But she didn't say these words, but then she shifted the promo. She's like, but fuck all that. I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna beat a girl up. Like, I'm going to prove that I still can go, and I'm gonna reclaim that title that I never lost, which is true because just a little bit of background. Roxanne was currently champion. She had a match, I want to say around March or so, against Meiko Satomura, who's like this big time women's Japanese wrestling legend, and she signed to NXT. And after the match, Roxanne had like passed out. I still don't know exactly why they did this for her, but it ultimately set up a women's ladder match at NXT Stand and Delivers pay per view back in April. So Roxanne passed out because Mako is a strong style wrestler. So in Japanese wrestling, hard kicks, like face shots, like chest, like possible concussions, like Mako hits hard. And that's what Japanese strong style is. So she defended the title against Mako, which, by the way, if you anybody who hasn't seen that match, go watch it. It is a thing of beauty. But Roxanne passed out. Shawn Michaels is like, we have to strip her because she's not clear to compete. And then she fought her way back into the ladder match. And so technically, Roxanne never got pinned and never lost the title. Because in a ladder match, you don't, to win, you have to take the title off from the top rung by climbing the ladder and all that. So technically, she's never been pinned or submitted for that title. So I was just like, okay. I was like, you're giving me hope that she might do it. And that's the other thing I loved about all the video packages we got from each woman. Their promos are just like, you know what? I can see a possibility of you winning. Because usually when you have like these big fatal four way or triple threats, you usually know, okay, we know who's going to really win this. But this was one of the few times when we were getting to the main event, and I'll talk about it later. I'm like, I really don't know who NXT is going to go with to face Tiffany next week for that title. But oh man, this video package was so good. I love Roxanne, but man, this is the edge I want to see. This is the edge I
I
want to see
thought
from her.
Roxanne, yeah, she's like fierce, man, fierce, and she's on fire. I love me some Roxanne Perez. I was like, hell yeah, girl, you take it. You come in there, you tell them how it is. I just love it. I just thought, yeah, you're right. I think, and as you know, we get each of them through the night, it's like you literally are like, wait a minute. Roxanne was fierce, but then so and so, and then she's also kind of this, and then so and so. It's like, wow, but she could really do that. You know, it really was kind of like, I don't know who's gonna win. I mean, because they're all. I mean, as we'll get to each of them, but I mean, it was like each of them were so strong, and I did not know. I was like, I will tell you the truth. I did not know who was going to win that match. I went all the way through going, I don't know who's going to win this, and then who did, and then I was like, what? Yeah. So, but yeah, Roxanne's awesome. I love
Oh, for sure. And I've been a big fan of Roxanne since her, tenure in Ring of Honor. And like I keep saying, being a student of Booker T and studying underneath him, she's come a far way. And she's only 20 years old, Will. And she's already out here main eventing matches, having awesome matches, being champion at such a young age. I'm just like, one of the reasons I love NXT, because this truly is a young person's sport, so to speak. And seeing all the
it. Yeah.
younger wrestlers learn and grow and develop everything is, oof, it is so much fun. So I'm also one thing I love about NXT is that, especially more recently, I love that we get explanations when they do these big things. So after that video package, we see our commentators, Vic Joseph and Booker T, kind of talk about Roxanne's promo, and then they introduce the video package that explains the rules for this Global Heritage Cup tournament. Like, what's it about? How the system works, like how do you get points, like what happens, and then we get all the participants, and then it explains that this tournament's going to be going on, and then the winners from A block and the B block, the two with the highest scores, will wrestle. I believe it said September 24th or 5th, whatever that last Tuesday is before the pay-per-view, and the winner of that will go on to face Noam Dar for the Heritage Cup Championship at No Mercy. So in Block A, going by really quickly and the where they represent. So representing Spain, we have Axiom. Representing England, Tyler Bate. Representing the United States is William Regal's son, Charlie Dempsey, who still needs a haircut. Um, and rounding out, coming from main roster, also representing England, is Butch, who is representing the Brawling Brutes, which is also made up of Ridge Holland and Sheamus over on SmackDown. So when I saw that, I was like, yes, give me Butch. I'm Butch, aka formerly known as Pete Dunne. I love him so much, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. And then in Block B, representing Australia is and Chase U, Duke Hudson. Representing, I believe it's Wales, I believe they said, is Joe Coffey, or one of the either Welsh or Scottish, one of the two.
He's Scottish.
Okay, Scottish. So representing Scotland is Joe Coffey. Representing Japan, also from the main roster, but coming from Raw, is Akira Tozawa. And then they said Jersey, but then I was just like, but you couldn't, okay, United States would have worked, but fine, I guess. But representing Jersey is the one and only former NXT Heritage Champion, Nathan Frazier. And we got two of these matches later on tonight. But when I look at this, I was just like, I honestly like this because I have no idea who's going to pick up the win and go to No Mercy, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like,
Of course.
Get it.
Yeah. I was like, of course I have my favorites. Obviously, I would love my boy Axiom to win and go to No Mercy because so Axiom was known as A-Kid when NXT UK was still around, and he is incredible. And he's one of those wrestlers that have two different styles that weirdly kind of work together when they should. And so he's very to the floor, kind of grounded wrestler, but he has hints, and I've seen him do the luchador stuff. So like grounded lucha libre style is weird. Like he'll he'll submit someone onto the mat and then he'll grab them and like jump off the mid rope or something to like crank the arm a little. It's such a weird style, but it is so good. So I would like to see Axiom, or of course my strong boy Tyler Bate, or even Nathan Frazier. But honestly, any of these 8 men, I would be happy to see fight for that title. So the tournament is a lot of fun. I'm excited for the next couple of weeks. And you know what? We'll talk about the 2 matches we got for this tournament tonight because I thought they were fun too.
Yeah. Also, for clarification, when we're talking about Nathan Frazier being from Jersey, that's the Channel Islands.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense because like we didn't get that explanation. I'm like Jersey, as in state New Jersey. I'm like okay, sure, but
yeah, because when they were talking about Joe Coffey, he was representing all of Scotland, and Nathan was only representing Jersey Channel Islands.
Oh,
that's what they mentioned. Scotty, he's representing the whole country, but Nathan Frazier's only got Jersey. That's why I was like, yeah, that's the Channel Islands.
Okay.
So anyway, just for clarification, just so no one like dings us on it.
No, that's totally okay. That's
you know what we're talking about.
Yes, that's why I'm happy to have a co-host for this. So somebody can help me out when I'm not remembering or I'm misremembering stuff. So yes. So after this yes, so we'll jump into this match. But after we get the explanation of the tournament, because like it was weird. We'll talk about this later, but I hate when we get like the start of entrances to matches and then we cut backstage to random promos. So like my notes tend to be all over the place. But after this, the next thing I have is quickly backstage. We see the D'Angelo family and then Carmelo Hayes. They come together backstage. They're celebrating their title wins, talking about it. Carmelo is still hung up with this win against Ilya Dragunov as a win with an asterisk, which will come into play later in another segment. But then all of a sudden, from SmackDown, we have the Street Profits pop out of nowhere. And honestly, like I'm here for it because I love the Street Profits, and we were teasing maybe the D'Angelo family versus the Street Profits, who are also former NXT Tag Team Champions. But before any of the five of the, well, no, Carmelo kind of like goes off to do his thing, and that leaves the Street Profits and the D'Angelo family kind of to talk. But then they're interrupted because then coming out of the corner in the background, we see like refs and we see four women start beating each other up. There are chairs being thrown. Like the refs are having a hard time keeping them apart. And I'm like looking at this, I'm like, okay, I think that one's Dana Brooke. I think that one's Kaylani, but who are they fighting with? And of course, we got our answer later in the night when we got that match. But what I loved anymore, and it's kind of misogynistic, but I'm kind of here for it, is the men were like, ooh, ooh.
Yeah.
They were instigating and they were hyping up the fight. I was laughing so hard at that.
I was too. I was too. Because it was so funny that it came out of nowhere, and I was there for it because this is one of the things that's so great about the backstage promos and all the video packages and everything is it kept that momentum and that energy from that first fight. I mean, it just rolls. I mean, through all of this stuff, and so you had them sitting there, talking, of course, and then it's just interrupted with just pure chaos, and it was so fun. I was cracking up the whole time because it's like, oh, that's perfect. Just a literally a ball of women fighting each other, rolling through the back, just like in just as if it's a normal everyday thing. It's like this thing, and it was so great. Yeah, it just added to the energy. It just added to everything, and I love that. I love it when they do things like that to keep that sort of momentum going, to really kind of amping up what's about to happen. And I appreciated that quite a bit.
Honestly, but I'm telling you, the NXT parking lot and backstage area, everyone would be fighting, and I'm kind of here for it.
Yeah.
So, speaking of fighting that I enjoy, so next we get another match. This is one of two Heritage Cup tournament global Heritage Cup tournament matches where we see Charlie Dempsey, who was already in the ring, being surrounded by Damon Kemp and Drew Gulak, and then making his entrance later in the most European wrestling singlet I have ever seen, and I love it so much, is Butch. And these two have a very well, I mean, I wish we got more time, but obviously, we had a lot of things going on in NXT, but we got a pretty good 7 to 8, like really kind of British style wrestling. Because even though Charlie's representing the US, because he's William Regal's son, we know he has that British wrestling ingrained in him. And just the European style of wrestling is so different than American style. But this was really fun. And I'm watching this match. I'm like, I want to know I wonder how Will is thinking of Butch, because Butch is a very like more joint manipulator type of wrestler, like breaking fingers, stomping on elbows.
I Okay, and I think I was texting you about this when I was watching it, but yeah, that onesie that he was wearing, I was just like, oh dear God. But he is. I what did I write down? He is brutal, and I like that. And because last time we saw him in a tag team, and I mean, he was pretty crazy, chaotic then. But I was like, he is so much more brutal as a solo fighter. Like this fight was ugly, and and I was living for it. I really was. I mean, Butch, God bless him, is not the handsomest man in the room, but he fought. I mean, his fighting style is extremely like joint oriented, like dislocating and breaking and things like that. And it was so, and I felt kind of bad for Dempsey. I was like, oh, yeah, you drew that short straw to have to fight this guy. Good. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. Um, and I have to say, there was a wonderful moment. One of my favorite moments in this whole fight is that move that when he jumped off that turnbuckle and caught. I think it was Butch that did it, right? Yeah, Butch caught Dempsey with whatever that move is that he does. And I was just like, I was literally like, oh, because it made me hurt. It's like
I'm telling you,
it made me
man,
hurt.
the British style wrestlers are just like, oh no, not the joints, oh, not the bone structure, no.
Well, I think I wonder if it comes from that, that sort of cultural. When we look at like ancient Brits, they were extremely like physical like that. So I'm curious. Yeah, I wonder if that's where they're pulling that from. I'd be interested to know. Maybe I need to like do some research on that. But it was like oof. And I do wish it had gone longer. I do. I really do. I mean, but don't get me wrong. The energy of this match was well matched with everything that came prior to it. It was so electric. It was so when Butch is like manipulating his fingers, the look on his face was just like, and I was like, oh gosh, creepy. It's like, ugh. It's like, ugh.
Right.
It's like, ugh. But yeah, then it was like, and I have a thing about hands anyway. So when he was like twisted fingers, I was just like, oh god, oh god.
Good to know.
And he was like, man, Butch was like a spider monkey. He was all over Dipsy. Like I mean, you turn your back on it for 2 seconds and he's flying at you. I mean, Dipsy, I mean, I was amazed that Dipsy got anything on that man because he was literally like flying all over that ring.
Right, which leads to the surprising, because Charlie ends up winning this match, like towards like out of nowhere. It's like bam, it's like Charlie gets him and then pins Butch for the 1, 2, 3, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, I'm glad this is a point system tournament, because like normally it's like single or double elimination. I was just like, okay. And I was like, all right. I mean, I will say the only thing that kind of bummed me out a little bit is this match was a little bit short, but the energy still carried. But the finish goes like, oh, okay. Like, I'm not mad at it, but I was like, I mean, we're pressed for time, so it makes sense. So after this match, Charlie Dempsey now has 2 points on the board, and Butch has 0. So really quickly, I forgot to mention this when we were talking about the tournament. So if you win by pinfall or submission, it is 2 points. No points to the loser. If we end up, because each match is only 12 minutes long, if we end up going the time limit, then it will be considered a draw, and each participant in a draw will get 1 point instead. So that rule, I think, is going to come into play as we get closer and down to the wire in this tournament, because I'm like, there's so many ways. There could be one winner, but I can also smell where we get a triple threat too by, the luck of the draw of this tournament.
Yeah.
But I don't care. These 8 people, these are matches that we don't really get to see, and I'm here for it. So it's just like it's fun. But Charlie has 2, Butch has 0, and the tournament will continue on over the next couple weeks. So next we're back. We see Mackenzie backstage interviewing Dragon Lee, talking about recapping the really fun match we had between him and Lyra versus Rhea and Dominic last week in the mixed tag match. But Mackenzie wants to know what's next for Dragon Lee, and the fact that he pinned Dom to win the match, does that put him in contention for the NXT North American Championship? And then, of course, Dragon says, in a few words or less, duh, yes, it does. But of course, being the Latino gentleman that he is. And then we get America's next president, or NXT's next president, Mustafa Ali, coming in. So I really dug his approach to this, because it's not really being a heel, but he's not being a face either. He's in between. I was like, I love when wrestlers kind of are in between and they leave you guessing where they can go. So being an in-betweener for all intents and purposes. But what I liked is Mustafa Ali acknowledges Dragon Lee, but like it's in the weird way he kind of backhand compliments him through this promo. I was like, damn. I'm like, damn, Ali. Like, I'm kind of here for this. This isn't new.
Yeah. And Dragon Lee didn't know what hit him. He was just sort of like,
whoa. He's like, bro, what's the problem?
Yeah, he was like, what just happened?
And literally,
Mustafa Lee, he did. He came in all like smooth and like, hey man, yeah, tough, you lost, you represented, but you still lost. And, maybe it's time for someone else to like kind of step in and do that, like, I don't know, like me, it's just sort of like, uh, okay. And then Dragon Lee was literally like with his mouth hanging open, like,
And then as soon as Mustafa Ali leaves, turns to Mackenzie, is just like, what?
I know. It was like, what the hell just happened? I mean, literally, it was like, what just happened? It was so nice and so passive aggressive. And it was just sort of like, wait, what just happened? I mean, even I was sort of like, what just happened there?
I was
Did
just like,
did he
okay.
call him out? What did he just do? Because I was like, I don't know what it was, but I was there for it.
See, one of the things I love about NXT is because, like, after this promo, I'm watching this and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, so we should be getting a number one contendership match for the North American Championship right between these two. I'm like, I don't know when that is going to be, but I'm here for it. And then I got my answer later on. And that's what I love about NXT. Usually they don't make me wait forever to tell me like the answer to my question. I'm like, we'll get into that in a little bit. But I was like,
Yep.
oh, okay. Thanks, NXT. I appreciate you not leaving me hanging for like weeks on end. So I got my answer, but I love this new direction that we're going with Mustafa Ali ever since he returned to NXT because main roster, I don't know how you have nothing for that man to do. It was ridiculous. And then everything they gave him was such crap on main roster. Like he had so much potential when we had the 205 live division, which is your cruiserweights, but then, that division went bye-bye. And then they tried to make him like they gave him some really horrible gimmicks and it just didn't work out. I was so afraid they were going to let him go, but now that he's in NXT, I'm like, perfect. Put him in NXT, let him actually wrestle, like give him some screen time because his man's can do it. And I'm a big believer in Mustafa. And I'm excited to see where we go with this character because we'll talk about it later, but if he wins his match next week, I'm interested to see the dynamic we get between his character and then the heel work of Dominic, which we'll touch upon in a little bit.
Yep.
So, going from a backstage interview, we cut to an in ring promo because the Mad Dragon himself, Ilya Dragunov, is in the ring. By the way, I would like to shout out Ilya Dragunov. You are one of the few wrestlers, when you cut promos, you are always dressed up to the dimes. And I don't know if it's either European wrestling in general, or if it's like that Croatia Russian type of wrestling too, where they're always like dressed up like boxers do before fight nights and things like that. Um, but Ilya Dragunov, you get my fashion of the week. Well, I mean my traditional, because then we'll talk about metaphor in a hot second. Because Noam Dar's outfit, I'm like, I kind of want that outfit now, and I don't know why, but I want it. So Ilya's in the ring, and he's giving props to Trick Williams, but also says that Trick was not enough to stop him, and that Ilya still has his eyes set on Carmelo, and wants the NXT championship. And then randomly, Noam Dar and his squad randomly interrupt this promo. I'm like, I had to look at my TV screen. I'm like, what is this? Like, where this at first I was like, okay, NXT, where are we going with this? Because Ilya is in the championship picture, but we're having him futz around with Noam Dar. I'm like, okay, fine, sure. But honestly, I'm kind of here for this promo because essentially Noam and Metaphor are all basically like those high school kids that we all knew. They're part of the cool club, and they just like are very childish in their insults when they make fun of people. Because literally, Noam Dar was gaslighting Ilya this whole entire time. He's like, "You have such a like." I can't do the accent, but you have such amazing accomplishments. You've done a lot, but you are not the greatest champion ever. I was like, those are perfect accomplishments for you. I was just like, what is happening? And then, of course, Oro and Jakari Jackson and Lash Legend, they all get some time to kind of just keep digging and digging and digging. And so it's all fun and games until Ilya's just like, okay, now you're insulting me with childish insults in my native tongue. All right, well, why instead of waiting, why don't we just do this now? And then he takes off the coat. He's getting ready to jump. He literally almost jumps out of the ring just to go up and start fighting. And then Noam's like, okay, we were just kidding. Calm down. Like, you know. And essentially what it seems like is that Noam, we're teasing Noam Dar versus Ilya at some point, but it seems that we have Ilya versus Oro next week, or at least within the next couple of weeks, and I'm kind of here for it.
Yeah. But I think it's so funny because I liked this whole promo because I'll give props to Dragunov because he was talking Trick up. He was like, he deserves respect because he came in here, he did his thing, and he wasn't enough, but he did it, and I was like, good for you, man. I mean, that to me, that is sportsmanship right there. That is the absolute beautiful example of it. It's like, we fought, you lost, but you have my respect because you got in there and you gave it your all, and no matter what, all the way to the end, you were in it. And I love that. And then the mean girls up top, sort of start teasing and taunting and all that. And I was just like, grow up. It's just like, and then when he took his jacket off, and I was like, and I literally wrote down, I want him to eat his lunch. I literally wanted to see Dragunov march up there and like face plant him so bad, just to be like, keep my native tongue out of your mouth, that sort of thing. I wanted it to happen, and I was like, and I agree with you. I think they're foreshadowing a Dragunov Dar head on, which would be fantastic. And of course, his little minion, jumped in front of the bullet for him, who I have a feeling is going to get his ass handed to him, because we saw a little taste of it right there at the end of this promo. Then my next note is that's how promos should be, right there. That's how they should be.
Right.
End in some kind of physical brawl.
There was like a physical altercation because Oro is on the mic. He walks down. Well, at first, Noam Dar is still talking, and then camera guy catches Oro Mensa like walking down the stairs, which I thought was kind of funny. And then as Noam is about to continue, and then Ilya is about to say something, Oro's already by the commentary desk. I will say I had to rewatch it at least twice. I'm like, ooh, that French accent is really strong on this one. But I was like, okay, I understand what he said. And then we just ended with those two fighting. And then Oro gets out of the way and leaves the ring. So we're setting up Ilya versus Oro, which I'm here for because both of these are really good. Both of these guys are really good wrestlers. And honestly, this was a great promo. This was a lot of fun.
It was.
And
it kept the energy up. It kept that momentum going. It didn't slack. It didn't lag it out. Because when people start talking, you're thinking, "Oh gosh, here we go." And it started out that way, and I was like, "Oh no, this is going to be a long-winded. Oh god!" And then it didn't. And at first I was like, "Okay, Dragunov's being very respectful. I love that." And then you started talking about this, that, and the other, and then we hear the mean girls jump in, and I was like, oh, okay, here we go. All right, what's gonna happen next?
Literally, metaphor is the mean girls of high school, and I just need them to do like a poof parody of mean girls, be like, get in, loser, we're going shopping.
Yeah,
I swear if they reference mean girls, I'll be like, best faction of the year, 10 out of 10. I will die on that hill. so metaphor, I mean, Oro versus Ilya should be fun. And then, once this little segment is over, we get a quick word from Vaughn. Apparently, we still not have looked up at Urban Dictionary what your t-shirt actually means, sir. I will say, it seems like he rehearsed this promo a little bit because the cadence of it was just a singular one shot, or he was reading a teleprompter. But honestly, I'm okay with that. I think Vaughn works better when he's reading from a teleprompter. But essentially, despite the questionable T-shirt and the phrasing of things, Sarah, like somebody needs to tell you that's not what you want. Like it's the closest thing to the in front of my salad meme that we're ever going to get.
Exactly. Seriously.
But
I mean, it was
yep.
literally because he was like, I literally wrote down Von Wagner and his table and hardwood. I was like, I don't think you could get any gayer than that. I mean, if you're trying to, and I think, and I want to believe that this is a shtick. I really do, because I don't. It makes me sad to think that he might actually think that that's a really great slogan. I really want to. I really, really want to believe that this is like a shtick. That it's truly he's doing the gay innuendo stuff, and which I'm here for as the big G myself. I'm all here for it because hello, wrestling is like probably the most homoerotic sport on the planet. I mean, truly. So why not use a little bit of it in there? And when he's talking about I'm gonna table you and with with my hardwood, and I'm just like, okay, we're gonna go with it, aren't we? And I'm here for it. Like I said, totally here for it. And I'm ready to watch Von Wagner give his hardwood to as many people on the table as possible.
Once again,
Yes.
settle this was not. And
Yeah.
again, and just as a sidebar, real quick, too, I was just like, you're very right. Wrestling is the most homoerotic thing that most of us in the Biconics and just in general wrestling fans will ever see. We see grown ass men, sometimes in just nothing but literally a little more than a Speedo, wrestling around, and especially those who choose to baby oil themselves up and look extra shiny and grabbing things and doing dick kicks and everything. But the takeaway from this very homoerotic like promos video segment is that it's going to be Von Wagner versus Braun Breaker in a no disqualification match next week on NXT, and I'm actually kind of here for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Absolutely.
Vaughn is going to get his ass kicked because Braun Breaker is going to destroy everything. But I can smell, because we'll talk about it later, I smell a certain person who is cardboard on the mic making their presence known in that match next week, which means we'll probably get something at No Mercy, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. So then, once again, NXT answers my question because I'm like, okay, Dana Brooke and Kehlani Jordan are fighting somebody backstage, during the Street Profits and the D'Angelo family. I'm like, but who are they? And then once again, NXT answers my question because before we cut to commercial, also I gotta say, Elektra Lopez, your entrance, your and Lola Vice's entrance with the elevator is like so cool. And it's just like literally the doors open and then the theme song just kicks into another gear. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. But
Yep.
we get Elektra Lopez and Lola Vice taking on Kehlani Jordan and Dana Brooke. My spicy Latinas are on my TV screen once again, and I'm not going to complain about that.
Nope. Me either.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Elektra Lopez and Lola Vice, man, like they're being built up. Like Lola's kicks look so stiff. And Elektra's too. Both of them work so stiff. And I'm kind of here for it. I was like, oh, that hurt me.
Yeah, it did. I was like, ooh, this is why I always say that I love the women's matches because they feel so much more brutal than the men's matches. I mean, yeah, because some of those hits, I was just like, oh my God, I think they're going to the hospital. I mean, it felt that impactful that I felt it through my computer screen. It was like, I mean, yeah, these women were, man, whoo, they were on fire, and I was here for it. Spicy.
Yeah, I love that as the weeks go on with this Kaylani Jordan and Dana Brooke storyline of Dana helping Kaylani find her killer instinct. That I was like, okay, now we're dressing in all black. I was like, way to go with the visual storytelling because prior to this, Kaylani was like in blues and pinks, and now she's wearing all black. Her hair is like tied up more, and Dana is here. I'm interested to see where we go with the story because as much as, this was a good back and forth, ultimately Kaylani lost it once again for her and Dana. And so I love me some good storytelling like Lola and especially Elektra. She does the thing where she like kicks up the dirt behind Kaylani as they leave the ring. I was like, ooh, that's so vile, and I'm kind of here for it. But more importantly, on the outside, we see Dana Brooke losing her mind. Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
fact that they lost, I'm like, oh boy. I was just like, I can't wait for the next chapter of this one.
Yep. Oh yeah. And there was a great moment. I laughed so hard. There was this one move, and that one because the whole match was great, and again it kept up that energy and that momentum. But there was this one move, and I think it was Kalani and Electra. There was one point where I think Electra like picks Kalani up and like puts her like hangs her over her shoulder or something. And it looked, and I swear to goodness, I think it was Kalani and Electra, but like Kalani like shimmies down her, like her legs are all like woo, and she goes down, and I was like, what is happening right now? It literally was like, what is this match going to turn into? It was like brutal and cool, and there was like a lot of the moves were really weird, and I was like, what is happening here? And then yeah, they did that little shit she did that little shimmy down Electra's body, and then I was like, what is going on? And then this match was way too short for me, but I understand why. But I was just like, God, I wanted so much more, and I think it's short because we're going to get so much more. And that's why I was like, okay, I was okay with it being short after I kind of thought about it. And I was like,
Right.
okay, this is because this is not over.
No. And one thing I love about NXT, at least with the last couple of months, is that like the more I've been watching it, I've noticed that they do the thing that um they do the thing where I've always been asking for a lot of the wrestling companies to do is like if you have so many people on your roster, like every week you rotate, like okay, the A stories, like not in terms of quality, but like if you're in this category, your stories and your matches will be this week. The following will be the next set of people, and then the next, like they rotate every week, so it's like every week or two like we still get continuity and we still get the storylines developing, but everyone gets to rotate. So it's always feels fresh, especially for NXT, which I appreciate. Cause like last week for Heatwave, all we did was get video packages leading into our opener match. And it's just like, that's perfect. Like even just regular video packages and promos to continue the story. And then we get a match and then we can continue to develop it. I love it so much. And I'm excited to see where Kaylani and Dana go with this. Like, is Dana gonna go full psycho mode and she gonna snap? Is she about to be so hardcore that she's just taking everybody out? And then, like, my biggest fear is because I don't want her to turn into my pleasure is pain type of trope of wrestler where she's very sadistic. But I'm also kind of here for it because then it would give Dana a different edge to her character, just outside of being I'm the strong woman, I'm gonna throw you around. But she's like, pleasure is my pain. It's like hit me harder. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay.
harder, harder.
It's
Again,
like again, just
you man have another.
listen, this is what happens when you put a bisexual and a gay man together in a review. You're gonna get this, and I'm here for it.
Yep, indeed.
It
I'm here to
is
get
harder.
exactly.
so after this match, we get our second women's video package. So this is contestant number 2, Gigi Dolan. I love this promo. This is probably my favorite promo that I've gotten for her in the last couple weeks because she acknowledges the other contestants, but she's like, but they don't have what I have, that the willingness to do whatever it takes to win. And then we get to see clips of her just going balls to the wall in her matches. I'm like, these girls better watch out because when they get into the ring with me, they have no choice and I'm going to get what's mine. I love Gigi's aesthetic, and we'll talk about it with the entrances, but her whole aesthetic is probably one of my favorite things. And
Mhm.
to see the development of her character now that she split away from her faction of Toxic Attraction when she split off from them months ago, And to finally actually see her get into the championship picture again, in such a, because we'll talk about this main event, because Homegirl to me was kind of the star, and I was just like, ooh, she probably had one of my favorite moves we'll talk about, but I love this package. I love her aesthetic, and we'll talk about it in the main event, but go Gigi, I love you.
Yeah, she's great. I like her a lot too. And it's hard because I really didn't dislike any of these women. Like I was like, oh yeah, I want you to win. And then the next one come, I was like, oh no, I want you to win. And then the next one was like, no, I think I want you to win. It's I and Gigi's one of those. I like her just like Roxanne. They're kind of fiery, and I kind of like that. And they're like, and we're gonna get and we get like a juxtaposition between like Roxanne and Gigi, and then our other two. Like as in like Roxanne and Gigi are so raw, and like almost savage. And then our other two are like more like professionals. They're very, they're very well put together and things. And then Roxanne and Gigi are very like wild, the wild children in the woods, that sort of thing. And I love
Yeah.
it.
The best way I could describe it is that Roxanne and Gigi are like the four women, if you were to use like, I don't know, music or art terms, like Blair and Kiana are just like the old school artists. It's just like very professional, very prim and proper, all that kind of stuff. And then you have Roxanne and Gigi, who are literally like the alt scene kids, like the emo kids hanging out at the lunch table in high school. Like literally, it's preps versus like the alternative emo kids, and I kind of here
Oh,
for
yeah.
it.
Oh, I love it. I love that whole aspect of it. I thought that was great.
I love
You get
them.
this sort of mix.
Yes. But speaking of things continuing to be great, so we talked about this earlier. The dissension, it may be officially be beginning, because we see Trick Williams backstage, and he's on the phone, and then he gets off, and then in walks in Carmelo. So Trick is all excited. He's trying to tell Carmelo, he's like, bro, it didn't work out the way I wanted to, but I proved what I needed to, and I got Ilya's respect. And Carmelo's kind of like half paying attention to Trick, because he's just like, it seems that he's thinking. And I love that Trick called it out. It's like, hey, yo, man, what's on your mind? You're not really here. What's going on? And then the girls kind of are fighting, because Carmelo still continues to bring up what happened at the Great American Bash. It's just like, listen, man, I was just like, I can't be worrying about what you got going on right now, because I still got to be me, and I still have this win with an asterisk. And then Trick actually gets upset. Is like, bro, you're acting like I did that on purpose. I did not do that on purpose at Great American Bash. And literally, Trick is trying to still hype Carmelo up. It's like, bro, that was all you. You won that fair and square. I didn't do anything. Like, Ilya running into the title did not was not the deciding factor, but Carmelo will not let it go. And then he questions Trick. It's just like, hey man, I was like, did you think I couldn't win that on my own? And I'm like, oh, I'm like, the girls are fighting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Like, oh dear.
the bromance is about to crumble, because then Carmelo, just the staging of this final piece of this segment was so good. And I loved it, because Carmelo's just like, did you believe that I could win? And Trick didn't say anything. He's like, man, what kind of stupid question is that? And Carmelo's like, all right, I see how it is. And then he leaves.
I got mine.
Yeah, I got my answer. And then leaves. And then Trick's is just like, it's like, I didn't think you could win. I knew you could win. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, so much drama, and I love it.
I literally wrote down, just tell him how you feel. Go to him. It was like a rom-com. I mean, it was like a true like romantic, like a romance novel. It was just like, do you think I couldn't do it on my own? Oh, I see. No answer. So that's my answer. And walks away. And then he's like, I didn't think you could do. I knew you could. And it was the look on Trick's face.
He was genuinely hurt.
He was. It was like, my man, hey bro, I'm your oh no, and I was like, oh my god. I was like, just go to him, man. Go to him. Tell him how you feel. It was so good. It was. I had a moment at the end. I was like, oh,
Oh,
oh, oh, look at you. You care for him.
I know. Honestly, this little piece was so good. I was like, it was so dramatic for no reason, but honestly, it continues because we got Trick and Carmelo kind of splitting off to do their own thing for a little bit. After Great American Bash, Trick, even though he lost to Ilya gave him his respect. So Trick is on the up and up. But man, well, I love the weird juxtaposition. Whereas Trick is looking forward to the future of where things go, Carmelo keeps looking behind in the past, and it's just like he can't let what happened at the Great American Bash go. And we know, as an audience, we know that Carmelo won that fight fair and square, but man, I love me a paranoid champion because then they start to get erratic. They start to have a little bit more of a mean streak. They tend to overanalyze. And I'm starting, and I, what I, and like I mean this from a storytelling perspective, not like I wish actual harm upon the person, but I love being able to start seeing cracks in Carmelo's like persona and his ego, because leading all the way up to now, he's been the confident champion. He's like, I got this. I'm the golden child. Like Shawn Michaels picked me. And now to start seeing those cracks and have him be a little insecure and be a little vulnerable with this is such an added depth to the character that I'm excited to see explored.
I totally agree. I love Carmelo's paranoia. I absolutely am loving it. And everyone he talks to, that's what's so great about it. Everyone he talks to just feeds it. It's like when he was talking with uh the Street Profits and all of them earlier, and they were just like hype in. He's like, yeah, I gotta focus on the thing. Ugh. He was all broody, and he's like, and I love it. And he keeps bringing up the asterisk to his win, and I'm just like, dude, chill, man. You won. First of all, who cares? You have the belt, dude. You have it. No one else does. You have the belt.
Yep.
So stop, stop, stop.
And
But
yep.
I love the paranoia.
Oh, for sure. And I'm just like, in hindsight, I'm like, Carmelo, you beat Ilya at Great American Bash. You beat Wes Lee at Heatwave last week. You literally beat probably the top two guys who are in contention for that champion, and you're still holding the title. So, like, it's something to celebrate. But I love this layer of him being paranoid, because now we get to see what direction it heads into, because with Wes and Ilya kind of losing to Carmelo, and we're still getting in the title, contention picture. Then we move to what I believe are the next two men who can also potentially be in that title picture with a little bit more wins under their belt. The only complaint I have about this match is that it was too short. I wanted it to go longer.
It was short.
And I was just like, I wanted it to be longer, but if we get something at No Mercy in the next coming weeks, I'm okay with it, because my menses were on my television screen. We get Dijak in his Sin City, and I love his entrance. Very Sin City. I love it. It's so ridiculous. Very tall man, loves him. But then, of course, the next person to enter, my boo thing, Eddie Thorpe. I love his entrance and the fact that he incorporates, the Native American dances in his entrance is one of my favorite things. I mean, he's a good looking man, don't get me wrong. But I love when wrestlers incorporate their actual cultures into their wrestling characters and their personas. And Eddie probably had my favorite moment of the night. So as soon as he's finished with the dancing and he gets towards the close of the ring, Dijak tries to do a sneak attack, and Eddie just literally head scissors him into the steps, which forces Dijak into the ring. And then literally Eddie had a hold my earrings moment as he took them off. He's like, hold my earrings. He literally took them off.
I'll take my hoops.
He literally said, hold my earrings, as he took them off and then jumped into the ring. And we got Dijak versus Eddie Thorpe.
Oh my god, that was a beautiful moment.
It's like, girl, hold my earrings. Hold up.
That was, Gail, take my hoops.
I love
It's,
Eddie. Like I said, the only thing I hated was this match was short, but
yeah,
I thought for what we got, this is good. Eddie and Dijak have a good back and forth. Dijak is trying to use his size and his strength to his advantage, but Eddie is start having an answer for everything. And even though Eddie's a lot smaller, I say smaller in like air quotes because Eddie's kind of not. He's not short. He's like right to chest height of Dijak, which is pretty tall, at least on television screen. But Eddie kept answering Dijak, and then Dijak, once he got thrown out to the ring, as the ref was distracted, as Eddie was getting ready to try to do something, like Dijak had the loaded like weight belt and punched Eddie to allow Dijak to get into the ring and pin him for the 1, 2, 3. And so I was just like, please let me get a street fight either on television or at No Mercy or No DQ or something where it's ultra violent.
yes. I agree. And, and then the chair came into it, but the chair was never actually used. So the ref was trying to stop them from using it. And oh my, it was a really good fight, and it was dirty, man. It was a dirty fight. And, on Dijak's part, because he pulled that belt like earlier in the match and wrapped it around his right hand, and Eddie caught it, like he's like, "Oh no!" And then he got knocked out of the ring. And then when Dijak got kicked out of the ring, he put it on like real quick. And then then that was unfortunate. That was the hit that took Eddie out. But I mean, and there was a wonderful moment because we're talking about "Girl, Take My Hoops Off," and then there was the slap fight in there. Where they were just like slapping each other. It was like, and I think laying the wood was mentioned again in this one. I think laying the wood was mentioned in this match. I wrote it down, laying the wood. I don't know why I wrote that. It could have just been a fantasy of mine. I don't know. Or someone said something. I don't know.
Listen,
But
with Dijak and Eddie in the ring, I mean,
oh, I agree. Where's the table? Um, but yeah, it was good, and it was so short, and I was like, oh man, I did. I wanted more. I did. Because you're right. Eddie was like, man, he had an answer for everything Dijak gave. Everything that Dijak gave, Eddie had something for it. And it was good. He held his own. And it wasn't the only reason he got taken out is because Dijak cheated. As they do. And I think had the belt disappeared, I think we would have had a longer fight for sure.
yeah. But it seems that at least I'm hoping, and this is just me, like praying and hoping and fantasizing, but I don't think that this feud is quite over. I hope we get a continuation, whether it's more matches or we set something up at No Mercy. Like, I am okay with any of it, and I just want Eddie Thorpe more screen time on my television. Just give me Eddie
I
Thorpe
think
every
this is
week.
Agreed. I think this is going to be a revenge challenge. I really do. I think Eddie's going to come back like, you took that from me. Why don't you come fight me like a real man? That's what I'm looking
It's like no excuses, no nothing. Let's make it no DQ or a street fight. I was just like, anything goes, and I could show you how brutal I can be when we throw decorum and the rules out the
Yeah,
window.
the rules out the window. Yeah, I
Yes,
agree. I think something's coming for these two, and I'm excited for it.
I'm excited. So after this match, we get the third video package for our participants in the main event. So this time we see Kiana James. I love Kiana's attitude. She's like, I don't care about these other girls. She's just like, I have more important things to worry about. But one thing they don't have is I have experience. I have drive. I know what it takes to make the sacrifices needed. And she's like, I don't think these girls are ready to do what it takes, even if people don't like you for the decisions you make. Short, sweet, simple. I'm like, yes, Kiana. Again, last week I talked about how Kiana was like the dark horse in that Iron Women match at the Deadline pay per view in December last year. And even though she didn't get no wins in that match, like she were throwing girls left and right, and she literally was like, "Oh, okay." And then her tag team run as a tag team champion was a lot of fun too. And honestly, she has improved so much, and I love her character. She's like, "Yeah, I'm a bitch," and
Yeah. I literally all I wrote down was Kiana James. Tell him, girl. Tell him.
She's like, I know people don't like me, and I was just like, I want that attitude sometimes. It's like, okay, I know I can be rude,
Yeah.
and and I love it. And man, we'll talk about all the women in the main event because it was great.
Yeah.
I will say the next part was really the only down part of this whole entire episode because we have a backstage person at NXT who's trying to talk to Baron Corbin, and Baron, I'm just like, just don't talk. But thankfully, Braun Breaker comes in and interrupts. And, Braun says, just so you know, Baron, me and Von Wagner are having this match next week. I'm going to, destroy him. But if a certain person interferes or makes their presence known, just so you know, there's no holds bar. And Baron's like, bro, Baron's like, bro, get over yourself. It's just like, I don't care about you. I don't care about Vaughn. You guys can have your match. I don't care. And I have better things to do, which translate into, yeah, I'm gonna make my presence known next week in that match. I was just like, I'm like, way to telegraph what's about to go down NXT, but that's fine. Listen, I know Baron Corbin is supposed to be the heel. Like, he's always been a heel. Like, he's not meant to be cheered. Man, I was like, how have you been in WWE this long and your promo skills are still not the best?
Crappy. He's horrible at them. Like, yeah, when it started, the minute he came on the screen, I was like, oh God. And then he opened his mouth, and I was like, oh dear Lord. I was like, please let this promo be very short. Please let it be short.
Which thankfully it was.
And it was. Yeah, I was like, oh, thank God. Well, then, Ron Breaker came in and basically took over the scene, which was fine because I was like, oh, good. Someone who can actually talk. And that was okay. But at first I was like, oh, dear God, please don't focus on him. Please don't focus on. And then, yeah, his whole, and I know, I get it. He's supposed to be the heel. I get it. I do. I totally get there. But I'm just like, his whole, when Braun Breaker was like, you're welcome, basically. And he's just like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm not thanking you for anything. You haven't done me any favors. And it's like, I'm just like, you ungrateful little shit. you know? I mean, you can be a heel and you can still be grateful for something. And it was like, he is just absolutely like, not at all. And it's just like, you little shit. That's all I could think of. You little shit. Be grateful. And yeah, then that promo ended, and I was like, thank God. I was like, I cannot listen to him open his mouth anymore. Because when he opens his mouth, stupid comes out. And I can't. I just can't. God bless.
Oh my gosh, I know. But I was just like, so you tell us you don't care, which means you're going to be involved in some way next week. I'm like, all right. So this feud is probably going to No Mercy, which, it is what it is, but we'll find out. Okay. This, again, I love my cheese in wrestling. So after we get this between Braun and Baron, we get the third and final installment of the Los Lotharios telenovela drama coming to a television screen near you with actual talking. This was great. So so we see Angel Garza waking up to kind of kick off the scene, and he's like washing blood off his hands. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, did they kill somebody? Like, what happened?" And then, as he's washing the hands, we get like a little sneak peek of like the. By the way, shout out to the makeup and prosthetics people because that was good. That was good makeup right there. I was just like, that's good prosthetic. I was like, ooh, it's actually kind of deep, like something cut them.
It really did. It looked like, like 3 deep gashes.
So I was like, oh, snaps.
Like
Also,
demon marks,
yep.
Demon attacks you.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah.
Also, I love it too because then there's somebody knocking at the door, and instead of getting dressed and holding on one moment, Angel Garza literally is walking out in a towel, all like bare chested. I'm like, I'm not complaining, but
Homoerotic.
but so he opens the door, and Humberto Corrios is like, bro, I had a dream. And then he comes inside, and as Humberto is explaining the dream, Angel's like, bro, I had the same dream. And they both show that they both have scratch marks on, like, I think it's like, on the left side where the heart is.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is if that's the case, then that is some good like notes. That is like some minor details that I love.
Yep. Yep. This promo was hilarious, because and I say hilarious because I mean it was cool because of course we get the grandfather again and the tribute there to him, and like we'll do this for him, and I was like, oh, I love that stuff. But what made me laugh, and this could just be the big G in me, but when they were like talking to each other there at the end, it cannot just be me. I cannot be the only one that thought that those two were going to start making out with each other.
This was the intro.
The way they were
Yep.
looking at each other,
Yep.
is he about to kiss him? I was like, I was like, because are they brothers
They're
or are they
cousins.
cousins?
They're
Okay,
cousins.
good. Because I was like, oh god, because I thought they were cousins, and I was like, okay, I'd be okay with cousins making out on screen. But it literally, I think, what was it? It was Umberto. He was the one that was all like,
Yes.
I was like, I think they're about to make out. I was like, they're doing this whatever, like bring them together, and I was like, I'm kind of here for it. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of there for it because out of the two, I think Umberto is the cuter one, and I would totally make out with him if he looked at me like that. I would be like, we're making out right now. Come on,
Yes.
I mean, seriously. I mean, I for those of you who are listening and watching to this, if you have not seen it, you need to go watch it because you will swear to Jesus on high that they are about to make out. Because I mean, I don't care the way they looked at each other. I was just like, they're about to have to fade to black because something's about to happen here.
Oh my god. Listen, Will, I'm so happy you are my co-host because again, you weren't the only one. I was just like, once again, this is well, I don't want to say this is the most homoerotic thing I've seen all this week because I just saw on Sunday at the pay-per-view, I seen grown men stabbing each other with forks and things like that. And just the way that some of the kendo sticks and the umbrellas were like being put in mouths and things like that, I'm like, we'll talk about that later. But I was just like, but ultimately, what we get is that they rip up the old Lothario shirt for their merch, is like being like the stereotypical like Latin lovers kinds of thing. It's like we have to dig deeper, we have to start from the bottom again and work our way back up. And then we end this segment with a little placard that says Los Lotharios will be back next week. I'm like, yes, we get them back in the wrestling ring. Let's go. And once again, this story has been told over like the last 3 weeks. And once again, 3 act structures seem to be NXT's thing. And this was the only part that actually had talking from Angel and Umberto, like in the actual scenes, because the prior two were just them in text messages or just I love the Angel Garza slowly one tear coming down. Honestly,
And then all the grandfather is speaking,
speaking
which I
in.
thought was very powerful
Mhm.
actually. And yeah, but yeah, then we hear them speak in this one, and I was just, and then like nearly make out. So I was like, okay, I'm here for it. I'm totally here for it. I'm on your side.
Yes.
I expect.
Give us a Chuck and Larry part two.
Yes,
um,
exactly.
oh my gosh. Uh, I'm like, it's so corny. I love it so much.
It is. It
It's
was
just
super
so
cheesy, and I loved every damn minute of
so. And then the emotional whiplash kind of have it because after this, then we get the video package paying tribute to Bray Wyatt that played over on SmackDown and Raw this past Monday. So and then we get the empty rocking chair on the NXT stage, which was a nice touch. Thankfully, we cut to commercial, so that's the smart thing to let it breathe a little bit to like let people process things. And then when we come back for commercial, we get our final video package from Blair Davenport. And Blair's just straightforward. She's just like, and she's true. She's like, I have to admit, the women's division here in NXT is great, but these girls have nothing that I can do because I've wrestled around the world. I've done everything and everything. So I have the
Yeah.
experience, and they're going to have to go up against me.
Yep.
So
It was good. Again, it's another one. It was like, well, I think she's gonna win. I was, and it was so great because each of them was so distinctly different, and it kind of showcased each. I personally felt that it showcased each of them. Like, this is who I am. This is how I am. Take it or leave it. And I really liked that. And Blair's was just as well as just as good as the rest of them. And I literally was like, I don't know who's going to win this. I really don't know who's going to win this because they are all very confident, all very sure of themselves, all very capable. And this one was just I was like, well, okay, maybe she will convince me that she will be the ultimate winner. And I was like, nope, I still have no idea, no clue.
Nope. And good job on NXT for making me
Yep,
like question. I'm like, I'm not sure
yep,
who's really gonna take this. And it could go either way, honestly. And you've made cases as to why each woman could
yep.
and should win this main event. So I loved it. So then, really quickly, because this what didn't take too long, so we got like an Instagram video from Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio being gross as usual. But the important thing that came out of this is, in order to determine Dominic's next opponent, next week we're gonna have a number one contenders match for the NXT North American Championship. And it's going to be between Dragon Lee and Mustafa Ali. And the winner of that match will go on to face Dominic at No Mercy for the title. And to make sure that we have a definitive winner, according to Rhea and Dominic, Dominic's going to be the special guest referee. I'm like, oh, so this is going to be a triple threat. Okay. Like, literally at No Mercy. At No Mercy is literally going to be a triple threat. And I'm okay with that.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, I was like, yeah, this. How could this go possibly wrong? Yeah.
I was just like, how? Sure, all right, like that's fine, I guess. But honestly, I think we're getting a triple threat at No Mercy. But who knows? They might surprise me. But I still think it's going to be a fun match between Mustafa and Dragon, so that should be
I
great.
think it is too. I think it's going to be as well. I'm really kind of excited about it. And I have to say also that Dominic needs to wash his damn hair.
Seriously, get like
It
shampoo,
works. It works.
soap
And
and water and condition. It's
it's
great.
stringy and greasy. And I'm like, you're gross.
So,
And if I hear her call him
yep.
daddy one more
Oh, yeah. Listen, like I've been unfortunately I've been conditioned to it because I'm like we've been doing this bit for quite some time now, so like I'm conditioned to like not be like not really be okay with it. It was like, yeah, okay, it comes with the territory. Like
time. That's the first time.
I'm like immune. I'm just like,
Well, that's the first time I've heard her call him that. Like, all
oh.
the other ones I've heard him call her mommy, but I've never heard her call him daddy till this match. And I was just like, okay. And they came on, and I was like, well, here we are. And then all of a sudden I heard her say it, and I was like,
You're just like,
what did she just say?
You're just like,
It was. I was like, oh, gross. It's like I could stomach him calling her mommy, but I cannot stomach her calling him daddy. I can't do it. Can't do it. Yeah,
I was
it's so gross. So gross.
so we at the Biconics well, we still have a running well, not anymore because but when this whole story started and Dominic was being a little lost puppy with Rhea, like Rhea being the one in charge and being the dominant one, it's like, oh, he's no longer Dominic. His name is Subinik because he's submitting to Rhea.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that was the running joke. And I like to shout out our host JVL for coming up with that joke. 'Cause I was just like, this. Yeah, again, I've been conditioned to this at this point. I was like, all right, whatever. I'm immune to it, but yeah, I was just like, because for me, this isn't the first time that Rhea has called Dominic daddy, and
Right.
and then I was just like, oh, that's right, Will hasn't heard. Oh no, oh my gosh, what has happened?
So gross. I was just like, ugh.
Seriously,
I had to pause it. I literally had to pause it. I was like,
I need to
okay,
process this.
I need to cleanse my brain with something. So it's like, oh, it was so gross.
Yeah, I was just like, but honestly, then things kind of got a little bit better. If it only maybe because I got to stare at Joe Coffey for a little bit, I was just like, "Hi, how we doing?" But
Yes.
we got our second, match in the Global Heritage Cup tournament between Mr. Joe Coffey and Nathan Frazier. The match was a lot of fun, but I'm just sitting there. I'm just like, "Hi, Joe."
My first note on this match was, "Ooh, Harry Scott."
The
I was like, "I'm here for him. I'm here for it."
rugby
Like,
ball, the rugby jersey play. Like, I love Gallus in their rugby jerseys now. I was just like, yes,
ooh, I was like, "Hello, sir." That's like,
gird the loins, kids.
yep. Ooh, my Lord Jesus, he was fine. He was. I was like, "You can pin me anytime you want."
Exactly. This match was a lot of fun. Like anytime Joe and Nathan get into the ring for me, because I'm familiar with the previous matches they had before. Again, once again, we have 12-minute time limits. This one I felt like went a little bit longer than Charlie and Butch's match, and I'm okay with that because this was a lot of fun. Of course, Joe is your typical power style of wrestler. He's going to hit you hard with the big moves. Nathan is your typical very fast and quick. And normally, like, I worry when these two styles lock up because it's so different, but they work so well together. And I'm again, I was kind of surprised because I thought Nathan was going to win this one and he almost did, but then Joe came out at the end to kind of take the victory here, and I was just like, "Oh, okay." So I was like, "All right." So I'm still thinking that Nathan is still going to get close to the end, if not be the winner of this match. But I was like, "Okay, we're probably going to build Nathan up. Like he's going to lose like once or twice, and then we're going to start to see him scramble." Which I'm here for an underdog like tournament contender where you have to scramble to get these wins.
Well, see, I think this, and I was thinking, I was like, you know what? I think what they're doing with Nathan is that exactly is that they're putting him in there to get him back up there to face him again, which is what I think is going to happen. I think he's going to claw his way to the top, and he'll lose here and there because you have to, but that's what I think it's going to come out to be. I really do. The two of them facing off again, which I'd be here for totally because yeah. But this match was pretty good. It scared me when Fraser's hair got caught on the rope and like jerked his head back. I was like, oh my god! I was like, long hair is like capes. It's like capes are bad. Don't wear capes. They get caught in things.
Like the
Uh,
Incredibles. Right.
his hair go, and then when he went out, I mean, it jerked him. I was like, "Oh my god!" And you could tell that was completely unintentional. And I was just like, "Oh my god, is he okay?" It was the one moment in this whole fight where I was concerned because I was like, "That wasn't supposed to happen." Uh, but I thought this was a really good fight. There were lots of close calls, like lots of close calls. And I agree with you. I thought Nathan was going to win this one, but when he didn't, I thought I couldn't win this one because they have to make him sort of the underdog. They have to make him look like, oh, look at you. You can't win anything. You're not going to get up anywhere. And I'm looking forward to him coming back, and which is what I really hope is going to happen. Because I really did like this match. Like really, I really liked it. These two fought well together.
Yeah. So Joe picks up the win, so he gets 2 points on the board. Nathan gets none, but the tournament is still young, and we're probably going to get the second set of matches next week, and then we'll continue on. And I'm just excited for this. Okay, this next segment, our prayers were answered because we talked about last week during Heat Wave, like JC and Thea having this conversation, and it was sweet. And like JC's like, people don't understand like people like us, like what we do, what we have to, all that stuff. And so at first, we start off with the Chase U segment, Andre Chase and Duke Hudson. Like, Chase is giving a lecture on the tournament that, we got the rules explained to in the first half. But the important bit is everything that happened afterwards. So class is over, and Andre Chase is like, Duke, where's Thea? And Duke is like, I'm not exactly sure, but. And then literally the music kicks in, and then we just see Thea coming into class. Like she ditched class and everything. I'm like, ooh, going from
Mhm.
star student to just ditching class. What I also love the storytelling is that the color of her uniform is now like changed. It is now black. I was like, I love me some visual storytelling. So Andre's trying to talk to Thea and like reprimand her for missing class, and she's kind of being a little snippy and snappy with Andre. I was just like, yes, girl, I'm here for this. And Duke is trying to play like person is like, we got some studying to do, like, we're just gonna go this way. It's okay. And Thea's just like, no, I'm not hanging out with you. I got plans instead of studying. And then literally like every scene from a John Hughes movies, in comes like in dressed in all black and kind of like biker chic or biker adjacent. We see JC Jane literally just like, let's go, Thea. Let's leave these losers and go hang out. And so JC and Thea leave to go hang out, leaving Andre Chase and Duke Hudson like, oh no, what has happened? What are we going to do? And then that's where the segment ends, and I'm just like, yes, yes.
I'm
I
here for this.
I love me some badass biker chick gang girls thing. I'm just like, let's go.
I love this. I truly love this. I was because we were talking about it last time, and I was like, "Oh my god! If what I think is going to happen is going to happen, I am here for it." And we are starting to see that happen. We're starting to see Thea kind of go into the dark side, which I'm super excited about. I'm super excited.
I
You know,
know.
there's one of those things where it's like, you know, and I like to look for deeper things. It's like she thought she was part of this tribe, and then she realizes that she's not actually part of it. That, you know, it's like there's she's not an individual here. She's like like a member of a cult, basically. And I think JC made her see that she is more important than the whole. That she needs to think of herself as an individual, and that's why I think she's like, yeah, it's like people like us who are on the outside. We're sort of fringe individuals that don't really fit in with anybody, or don't want to fit in with anybody because they don't want to conform. And I love, and you're right, I love Thea's change of wardrobe, showing that shift, and even in her hair and everything. It was like her whole look was different, and I'm like, I'm loving it. So I can't wait to see where this goes. Yeah,
Yes,
the door. There's JC in the door, and I'm like, oh
literally.
damn.
It's like Andre and Duke are like the dads of the good girl who's now going into the good girl gone bad phase, and they're just like, "You will not date my daughter." It's just like, nah.
Yeah.
I'm I'm here for the bad girl Thea era. Like, if we get them as a tag team, I'm more so behind. Oh my
Oh
goodness.
my god, I'll be all over that.
Yes, please give it to me. Okay, so
Be fantastic.
so things get a little weird here because like we cut between main event entrances and then last minute promos and then we get bumpers. So I this is how I combined it. So I want to give the main event its own thing. So like I crammed like the three segments and the bumpers that we got into this one section. So we first get this weird social media video of like the NXT like anonymous stalker page or whatever. And we see Fallon Henley, so who is like the female liaison for Brooks and Jensen. They're literally like these. How do I put this nicely? Because they're not necessarily rednecks, but they're good old country boys, minus the problematic racism. So literally, they drink and they'll fight, but like not really racist, and they're actually kind of funny. And I like Brooks and Jensen as a team. So team country is like what I call them because they literally fight in like Wrangler jeans and cowboy boots. It's ridiculous. And one of them literally wears like a cut, like literally like this shirt, like cut off flannel.
That's funny.
But we get this interesting video of Fallon coming up and talking to this guy named Miles, who is part of Charlie Dempsey's, Andrew Gulak's, and Damon Kemp's group. And it's just like, hey, man, you don't deserve to be treated like that. So if you're looking for a new squad to roll with, come on over. You can be our third. And, you know, the boys are looking for a third member to be the Three Musketeers or whatever. So if you feel that, and I was like, do I sense sexual and romantic tension here? Because Miles is like, Oh yeah, I definitely would love that. I'm like, ooh, I smell drama and love and infatuation. I was just like, this was the most romantic, like betrayal. I'm like, what is going on with NXT tonight? Like, it's everything is either homoerotic or there's like some sexical tension. I'm just, and I would the way he looked at her, and I was just like, I'm kind of here for the drama if that means we get Charlie and Damon and them involved with this team and like they feud for a bit. I'm as cheesy as it is, I'm kind of here for it.
Oh yeah, me too. Well, it's so funny because he needs to go find another squad because they mistreat him so bad. I mean, like what you
Right.
saw in the last time when they
Right.
bullied him around, and I'm like, dude, no,
No.
absolutely not. Don't let people treat you like that. You
No.
go with people who are going to respect you.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, go. You do it, buddy. You go.
I also appreciate the fact that it is a guy who's like stuck in the middle instead of like the usual
Yeah.
trope. It's like trying to get a girl to leave a squad, but it's like this dude. Instead, I was like progressivism. Here we are in wrestling. I'm like, I'm kind of here for it.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
So, and then to cram it in, then we get this like shot on an iPhone promo from Wesley.
Yeah, like he out finding himself or something. I don't know what he was doing
I
out
was
there,
like, bro, are you on the Are you on the peyote? Like, what is happening? Are you on another vision quest? Like, what is happening?
yeah, that was funny.
I kid you not. Like, literally, when his tag team partner was still there, they literally went on a vision quest. And while it was not explicitly told, they literally found their vision quest shaman, who ended up being the main roster wrestler Matt Riddle, who's literally the bro, and he's literally like puff puff pass kind of a thing. And literally that's what their vision quest was. They puff puff passed, and then they were awakened to what they needed to do as a tag team. I was just like, this is so stupid. I was like, but I'm here for it. But I was like, okay, so Wes is cutting this promo, which means that he may have lost, but he's gonna come back with a vengeance, and I'm here for it. That video is gonna come back into play in a little bit. But after this, then we get the entrances of Roxanne and Gigi, like we talked about earlier, and then we go to commercial, come back from commercial, and Mackenzie's backstage with Tyler Bate, like in a random interview. Mackenzie asked Tyler about, his feelings about being in the tournament and representing England. Tyler responds by saying, he's excited, but then he turns to the camera to cut a promo against Dabba-Kato, and it's like, bro, before I handle my business in the tournament, me and you have some unfinished business, so you better be ready. And then we get in the bumper like during the match. We're just like Dabba-Kato versus Tyler Bate next week. I'm like, okay, sure.
All right, sure.
I was like, I will be upset if Tyler Bate gets squashed again, but you know what? Like, we'll cross that bridge if we ever get to it. And then we get and then after this, then we get the bumpers for like next week outlining all the matches randomly. I was like, what the hell? We're in the middle of entrances. All right, sure, fine.
I know it was so random.
I'm like, okay. Like the last 5 to 7 minutes before we got to the main event, they're just like, oh crap, we don't got a lot of time on air, so we got to give this match some time. So let's throw everything in the blender and like put it all together. I'm like, okay, sure. All right, we've talked about it for long enough. I I don't care what nobody says. I will die on this hill. This is my match of the night. This fatal four way for the number one
Yes.
contendership to see who's going to face Tiffany next week for the NXT Women's Champion. We have Roxanne Perez versus Gigi Dolan versus Kiana James versus Blair Davenport. Take my money. This was my match of the night. This was phenomenal. All the women were incredible from the individual spots. What do I have in my notes? So like some moments that really stood out to me, the modified like Tower of Doom spot where Roxanne was on the top and then Blair and Kiana were trying to flip her, and then Gigi gets underneath and pulls them all up to kind of like slam them onto the floor. Let's see. The last 3 minutes of the match where every woman just like hit their sequence and their finisher moves. Um, when Roxanne was in the corner with Kiana trying to go for her finisher, Like she gets on top of Kiana's shoulders, ready to do the pop rocks, and then Blair comes running in and kicks Roxanne into the corner. I was just like, yes. I was like, yes. Let's see. Gigi Dolan taking on Blair and like a rolling like arm like lariat was great. Roxanne hitting Blair with her finisher, but then Blair rolls out of the ring and Roxanne's losing it. Gigi is taking Roxanne to the limit. And then Kiana out of nowhere hits like this awesome like spinning sling blade move and then like does a knee to the back of the head of Gigi to pin her for the win. So winning the winner of this match and going to face Tiffany next week on NXT for the Women's Championship is Kiana James. I'm like, yes, I love a smart, sneaky wrestler because she held her own, but she got knocked out. But she used that time and took the opportunity when Roxanne had Gigi pinned and like literally took Roxanne out, made sure Gigi stayed down for the count, and then pinned in for the win. I was just like, this match was bonkers through and through, and I loved every single minute of it.
Oh yeah, it was. Some of my favorite. I wrote down some of my favorite moments, like when they face planted Roxanne, and let's see, Gigi's headbutt. That was a good one. When they kick her in the cootie. There was a lot of cootie kicking, and I love the girl chain that when they were all in that sort of like.
Yeah, Roxanne was literally just like trying to do like some sort of leg submission, and then all the other them were connected by other submissions. And then Blair's like, "Oh hell no!" and then gets up and literally just walks over and kicks Roxanne.
Oh my god, it was so funny. And then there was that Gigi almost took Blair out. There was that one, she almost took her out. I was like, damn. Then I was like, uh-oh, Kiana must have broken nail, because that's when she came in fighting. Like she was like pissed. She was like not having it. And that was leading up to her win at the end. But she came in there and it was like, I love that foot move that Roxanne has, that really cool. I guess it's called the pop rocks or whatever.
Yeah, where she like flips the person over, like what she did with Blair.
That is such a great move.
Yeah, the pop rocks is one of her finishers. I love it. So the actual move is called a sunset flip. So you get your opponent, and then using your and the opponent's momentum, you literally jump and flip them over. It looks really great.
That was really great. Yeah, and then I was like, I said Roxanne's still my girl. I was hoping Roxanne would win, but um, and then I was like, damn, Kiana out of nowhere. I mean, out of nowhere, because she was like, because like there towards the end, she was down. She was like down out of the ring and down by the announcers table, just like looking all broken. And then they focused on the ring, and then all of a sudden there she was. It was just like, and then bam, she took him out, and I was like, oh, okay, well, okay, Kiana, well done, well
Yes.
done, well done.
And then, of course, what I also love is after the replays, Tiffany is out dressed in a very nice color on her. I love that dress on you, Tiffany. You look nice. And the two are, the typical things where they talk smack to each other. We know we're getting Kiana versus Tiffany next week. And I was like, this was a great way to end the show. Wait a minute. What? We're cutting backstage. What is happening? So the show literally ends. Carmelo is walking with his phone, watching Wesley's little promo. And the last thing we hear, he's like, oh no. And then he opens Shawn Michaels' office door. It's like, hey, yo, we got to talk. The door closes. And that's where the show goes off the air. I'm like, the drama continues to unfold. I was just like, what is happening? I was like, are we getting a rematch between Ilya and Carmelo? Like, is Wes going to be involved? Like, what is going to happen? I am stoked. I cannot wait. Honestly, and this is my brain that's booking these matches. I'm wondering if you know what? I don't care if a pay per view has multiple triple threat matches, especially when the talent is really good. If we get Ilya, Carmelo, and Wes, I'm like, take my money. Like, I'm going to need day I would need to take a day off because I'm just gonna be sitting on the couch like, "Oh my gosh, that was beautiful."
Well, I wonder if they're gonna do, like, a male version of what they did last night, like, with, like, get
Number 1,
4 of them in the ring.
honestly, I would love it. Ilya, Wes, and then right now that I'm thinking, like, put Dijak and Eddie in. Listen, if they actually do that with those 4, I was just like, I might die just because of all the talent in there, but also, like, all the cuties. I'm like, "No, don't hurt the face. Don't hurt the
Don't hurt the
face."
face.
Oh my
That would
goodness.
be pretty cool, though, if it was like, a an all-in type thing, 4-man fight, free for all. I'd be all for it. I'd like bring everybody, all those people that have a beef with Carmelo, and let them fight
Fight.
it out and see who fights him.
Seriously.
I would love that. Truly. I mean, it's like, I mean, truly, I think that would be a great match.
I mean,
You know?
we're gonna have to tune in next week to see what happens. Like, what did Carmelo and Shawn Michaels talk about? Hopefully, we get I'm pretty sure we'll get an answer next week because NXT always answers my questions. I was like, "What?" So I have a question. Oh, never mind. I didn't have to sit on it for too long. Thank you, NXT, truly for answering it. So before we get into our rating, because I want to do this a little bit differently, Will, let's go into Will's hotness corner, and let's talk about who the woman and the man hottie of the episode was.
Okay, welcome to the hot corner. So this one was difficult because for various reasons. Because you have Dijak and Eddie Thorpe and Brendan Fraser, who I think is also very cute, and of course Joe Coffey, and last my last pick was of course Noam Dar. Uh, and this one was a little difficult, but I eventually had to go with my big G heart, and I picked for the men. I picked Joe Coffey because he's Scottish, which melts my drawers, and he's hairy, which also melts my drawers. So I was like, done. Uh, for the women, this one was hard too, but I had to go with my heart here and my gut. So I went with Roxanne Perez because I love her. I think if I was gonna try and find a woman to convert me, I would love it to be Roxanne because I think she would be very, both extremely gentle with me, yet rough. And I'm okay with that. Like, yeah, be like, oh, it's my first time, be gentle. But rough me up a little bit too. And I'd be okay with that. And I
It's
think she
like,
could do that.
yeah.
And she's absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, for sure. It's like, hit me harder.
Hit me harder. Seriously, tie me up, do whatever you want to do. But yeah, so Joe Coffey and Roxanne Perez are my hot corner picks for this session, this event,
Ah,
for
I,
sure.
I love
But
it.
again, like I said, there were some gorgeous folks because I was also kind of like, I was teetering on Umberto, but since he wasn't in an actual match, I didn't include him. But I was sort of steamy, and but yeah, Joe, he got me. I was like, all right, I'm yours. Take me. And then Roxanne had me from the beginning.
I love
So
it.
so those are my.
I love it so much. And that has been the hotness corner with Will. um,
Well,
honestly, those are probably my picks too. Joe, I could stare at Joe all day and be like, "Hey." I was like, I
that
want a
was my
bit.
first time seeing him.
Listen,
I'd never seen him before, and was
yep.
just like, oh, who's that?
I was
And
like,
then he started talking, and I was like, oh my god.
listen, I'm like, Joe Coffee, I will have a cup of you all day, every day. And then Roxanne
Yep.
always has my heart. I love her so much. She's so
Yeah.
talented and
She's
she's great.
she's
She's very pretty and I love it and
But
just being
talented, but
yep.
she is really talented. I was like, God, you're good. I like her. I like her moves. I like her style. I liked everything. It just sort of all came together, and she was like the whole package.
She is and all I want to yeah, a shout out to all the women in the main event cuz y'all did that. Y'all did that.
Mhm.
And I'm so happy. I loved it. It lived up to my expectation. This whole episode was great. And, now that we're getting into the ratings of this, I think I'm going to give this a strong, I'm going to give this a strong, like, 8.5 out of 10. And that's like my highest I've ever given anything on this channel. I think because maybe it's a little biased because of how excited I was watching it all the way through, but everything that we got from the matches to the promos, like the same energy was carrying through the whole, like you said, carrying through the whole entire 2 hours. And honestly, I was kind of bummed when it was over. I was like, oh, the 2 hours are up. No, I want more. Like it didn't feel like 2 hours. And I was like, I kind of want
Well,
more. I mean, matches were great. A lot of the promos were great. Obviously, the only real downside is I wish some of the matches went a little bit longer. I
mhm.
don't like Baron Corbin's feud with Braun, and I love Von Wagner as an actual person because of what he went through as a kid. Because we got that story on NXT TV. But sir, I need you or the creative team behind you. I'm serious about y'all looking it up on Urban Dictionary because I don't think you want your NXT legacy to be about,
Yeah.
literally like go face first into the
You don't
mahogany.
you don't want it to be like an unintentional gay joke.
Yes.
'Cause that's exactly what it is right now. Like complete gay joke. Yeah. But I agree. Yeah, they need to look that up. Someone needs to send them the link.
I mean, and who knows? Maybe that's exactly what he meant to do. And it's like, okay, more power to you.
Well, if it is, I'm here for it. I just think it's funny. I think it's hilarious.
It really
Hilarious.
is.
And I'm like, it makes it even funnier if it's like intentional. And I'm like, I love this.
Then I'd be like, okay, I'm kind of more behind it now.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
if you play
yep.
into it, I'm there for you.
Oh, for sure. So, Will, what would you give this week's NXT?
So this one, and in comparison to the last one, I'm gonna give this one a strong 8.5, 9, because I would have given it a solid 9. But again, like you said, like the Corbin thing, I just was like, ugh. It literally, I just wish they would learn or teach him how to promo better. I really do. And I don't know if what he's doing is like, this is what my character does. Because if it is, it's the wrong choice. Go with something else. And then the other thing that kind of I would not give it a solid 9 is that sort of blender stuff we got during when we were introducing the girls into their match. Just sort of like it felt a little rushed. It felt like, oh God, we got to get all this in. Let's just throw it all in one thing. And it was really confusing because they were introducing the women, and then they would get interrupted with these random, little video packages and bumpers and all that. And it was just like I literally was like, I don't understand what's happening. Like I was like so confused. Even in my notebook, I had to like go back and like write notes here and do this, that, here, and the other. And I was like, because I just didn't know. I just didn't know what was happening. So I would say a strong 8.5 to a week 9, because it was good. This is a really good episode. Like really good. I thought all of the fights were extremely strong. I agree. The women's match was my favorite match of the night, seconded only by the cage match. Um, but I thought that they kept the momentum and the energy going. The only time it ever dipped was that Corbin sequence. That's the only time it ever dipped. And then once it was gone, they picked it right back up and kept going. Because I thought for sure once that happened, it was going to dip and it was going to be a letdown to the women's match. Uh, and it wasn't. So thank goodness. So the women's video packs maintained that. So we were set up for the women's match at the end to a point where we were like, I don't know who's going to win, and I'm excited for that. So they kept it going. So overall, the night was a success for me, and I agree with you. It didn't feel like 2 hours. I was like, wow, because I kept clicking to see how much time I had left, and I was like, really? We're almost done? I was like, it felt like I'd been watching it for like 45 minutes. Truly, it flowed so well. As a structure standpoint, looking at it from a flow standpoint, it flowed very well. Each match flowed into the next very well. I thought they programmed it very well. They put the heritage matches where they needed to be, and then the really cool fights kind of in the middle. Sort of they bookend or not bookended, but sort of separated those the big fights, and I liked that. I thought the structure was very good. And then you had that wonderful promo from Dragunov, uh, which I really did like. And yeah, so overall, I loved this one. I was super excited to review this one.
Yeah, this one, this was a fun one, and honestly, the last 2 weeks, if we put the shows together, have been. I think that's the best way to describe it. NXT is a lot of fun, and that's why I love watching NXT, and I love that you enjoy it as much as I do because honestly, having a host to review NXT now is so much more better. It's like now people don't have to watch me talking to myself all the time, and I love every single moment of it. Don't get me wrong, I love talking about NXT, but being able to have somebody else talk to me about NXT is great. And then, of course, me and you both, as the resident LGBTQIA folk, we can ogle all our men's and women's to a certain extent all the time, and I love that. I mean,
Indeed.
we all do it at the Biconics anyways, but that's neither here or there. But on that little lovely note, that is going to be the end of this week's El Jefe El Oso Loco review of NXT. Tune in next week where we're going to be reviewing some fun matches and another exciting episode of NXT, we hope. If you like what we do here on the Biconics Wrestling YouTube channel, make sure to hit that subscribe and notification bell to stay up to date when all of our videos go online. You can also follow us on all the social medias at BC WrestlePod, and make sure to check out our podcast where we talk about anything and everything wrestling. We're gearing up to record another episode, and I'm super excited to get it here. But until then, you can. Well, actually, I'm going to save that spoiler for later because you will find me later this week doing my usual Impact Wrestling review, but it's going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to not spoil the surprise here. So if you want to find out what I'm talking about, you got to stay tuned for the reviews. But this has been Mikey. Joined with me always is my co-host Will, whom I love dearly. And from both of us and all of us here at the Biconics Wrestling YouTube channel, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and until the next review, adios and sayonara. Thanks for tuning in.